Welcome to a new episode of Alternative Indian Media. What could be the reasons behind the unprecedented violence and anarchy which France has been witnessing following the brutal murder of Nahom Merzouk, a 17-year-old teenager of Algerian descent? In this episode, we are going to give you to-the-point answer to this question. You will get to know the masterminds and the real perpetrators. Indian mainstream media and social media are mostly silent on these issues. So, let's get on with the things. Number 1. Global elites or the globalists want to revive the erstwhile Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth is not a new idea. Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth formally existed between the years 1569 to 1795. Therefore, it becomes quite obvious that the globalists would try to tear down those nation-states who can be a potential threat towards the revival of their upcoming Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. In Central and Western Europe there are only two nation-states who can be problematic towards the revival of Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. These two nation-states are Germany and France. Globalists, and more particularly, the Zionist elements, view European Union as a Franco-German empire. By orchestrating the violence and anarchy, globalists are threatening to tear down these nation-states if they do not comply. Political space of France and Germany have already been subverted. Globalists also want to tear down Russian Federation and topple Vladimir Putin for this very reason. Hence, globalists are using Ukraine and Volodymyr Zelensky as a ramrod against Russia for this very reason. Globalists also want to bring in Western Ukraine and other Baltic states such as Estonia, Latvia within the ambit of this Commonwealth. Globalists are even eyeing Belarus and parts of Russia, particularly the Kaliningrad region of Russia. Number 2. Globalists want to bring in a one-world government which according to them would define the emerging world order. Kindly watch this video clip.
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can emerge.
So, here we go. We have the troubled times.
And now's the time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there.
So, what do you expect? If you have watched our episodes under Geopolitics playlist, you should know by now. Globalists would definitely use their tool of choice, the instrument of sociopolitical engineering, the political science principle of Hegelian dialectic, the cycle of thesis, antithesis and synthesis or action, reaction and solution. Hence, Nahom was brutally murdered, that is, an event was orchestrated. That is, an action was enacted, which would be classified as thesis. Deep State had already deployed and positioned hooligans and anarchists to commit violence. And there are organizations who specialize in this sort of things. Donald Trump named Antifa when United States of America witnessed unprecedented violence during Black Lives Matter protest.
The violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings.
So, who created Antifa? Answer is Britain. I'm sorry to say this. Algerian immigrants didn't create Antifa. And please do not blame us for naming Antifa. Donald Trump did it. However, what Donald Trump quite conveniently forgot to mention is that the radical right-wing white supremacist organizations such as Proud Boys were equally responsible for the violence and anarchy. You cannot clap in one hand. Radical left and radical right is here to orchestrate a conflict which George H.W. Bush referred to as troubled times.
I am concerned about the rise of any group of hate. I don't like it. Any group of hate. I am, whether it's white supremacy, whether it's any other kind of supremacy, whether it's Antifa, whether it's any group of hate, I am very concerned about it, and I'll do something about it.
In this emerging world order, in the proposed one-world government, the concept of nation-states would be diminished or even abolished. Hence, there is a need to tear down the nation-states. This violence and anarchy is aimed to diminish the nation-states such as France and Germany. It is also a direct threat or a warning shot to other European powers. They are saying, just in case, if you do not comply, you will face the similar consequences. Number 3. Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth would be the manifestation of the emerging world order in Europe. It would be the European chapter of the emerging world order. This Commonwealth is supposed to serve as a template for rest of the world. On face value, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth would be a multicultural, multi-religious, multi-ethnic, multilinguistic federal, democratic republic. But in reality, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth would be a Zionist state, controlled by those globalists who support the idea of political Zionism. Number 4. Pax Judaica, that is the project of establishing a grand Jewish empire. Question is, how can this be accomplished? In earlier episodes, I have stated that the principle of Hegelian dialectic is used for two purposes. 1. In order to set a narrative. 2. In order to polarize the society into two seemingly contradictory ideologies so that a clash or conflict can then be orchestrated among these two opposite poles. Brutal murder of Nahal merely serves that purpose. Globalists want to polarize the society among two contradictory or conflicting ideologies, that is among the white supremacist Christians and the Islamic world, and then they would orchestrate a clash or conflict. This conflict or clash would result into a synthesis or solution. Grand Jewish Empire would be the synthesis or outcome from that clash. And in this conflict, Christians and the Muslims would be treated as sacrificial lambs. Please recall, Second World War was a clash among two contradictory ideologies, that is communism and fascism, the conflict where the Slavic and Germanic people were treated as sacrificial lambs. And the synthesis or result or outcome from this clash was the formation of the ideological state of Israel. Number 5. Destabilization of West Asia and North Africa was orchestrated by waging a bogus war on terror and through people uprisings such as Arab Springs. Bogus narrative of war on terror was created by orchestrating the destruction of World Trade Center. We found the research work carried out by Dr. Judy Wood the most authentic one. According to Dr. Judy Wood, WTC Twin Towers were pulverized using directed energy weapons or DEW. Western deep state funded, trained and armed the terror outfits such as Al-Qaeda, Islamic State and Boko Haram. War on terror and subsequent civil war has completely ruined Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Yemen. Through the destabilization of West Asia and North Africa, huge influx of refugees and immigrants were pushed into Europe. This was all part of a well-thought-out plan, so that this huge influx of refugees and immigrants can be used as a pretext at a later point in time to instigate the rise of radical right-wing politics in Europe. And then they would orchestrate the clash or conflict between left liberal social democrats, followers and sympathizers of Islam occupying one pole and radical right-wing white supremacists occupying the other pole. Number 6. France is no sane either. France colonized parts of India and entire Indochina. During 19th century, France joined hands with Britain and waged the Second Opium War against the Chinese Empire. In fact, British and the French East India Company made an arrangement among themselves to colonize, loot and plunder, in which it was decided that Brits would plunder India, French would plunder Indochina, that is Vietnam, Cambodia and Laos, and the Brits and French would join hands together to plunder China. France also colonized and plundered Africa, committed genocide and mass murder, and orchestrated famines. France played a notorious role in the destabilization of West Asia and Africa. Under the leadership of USA, as part of NATO alliance, France invaded hapless countries of West Asia and North Africa. French Air Force regularly bombed Libya, Syria, and Mali. France has committed heinous crimes against the humanity. Number 7. Having spent time in Europe, I have personally experienced racism. Although France is least racist and Germany and Italy are the most racist countries in Europe, racism in Europe is systemic as well as structural. They would celebrate Algerian immigrant Zinedine Zidane's goal and bask in the glory of being World Cup winners, but they won't tolerate Nahal. This is what I mean by West's use and throw policy.
Number 8. French President Emmanuel Macron is no saint either. He himself is a globalist or a globalist puppet. But even then, Macron's point of view is relatively more balanced when compared to the warmongering cabal of the neocons in the American administration. Throughout the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Macron tried to reduce tension and hostility. Macron tried not to instigate Vladimir Putin's Russia. Macron didn't add fuel to fire. He tried to calm things down and try to avert a nuclear conflict between NATO and Russia. Of course, Macron had his interests. Vladimir Putin's Russia is not Mali or Libya. But at least, Macron tried to avoid a nuclear Third World War and hence withheld supply of arms and ammunition to Ukraine, at least to a certain extent. This has irked the globalists who own and control Western arms and ammunition companies. Recently, Macron has said a straight no to opening of NATO office in Japan. So, the globalists want to humiliate Macron and throw him out of power. We pray for Emmanuel Macron's safety and security. And to be fair with Emmanuel Macron, he is not as strong and astute as Vladimir Putin.
Thanks for watching this episode. Kindly share this episode and subscribe to this channel.